The Forum at 8 with Xolani Gwala.
Welcome to the Forum at 8 here on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader. Well, Cosatu General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi recently accused a few senior leaders of the Federation's affiliated unions of working to destroy Cosatu, or at best create so much division that the Federation can no longer be an independent movement capable of fighting for the interests of the members. He was speaking at a NUMSA conference last week. Let's talk a little bit about what is happening at Cosatu. Some people are saying that the kind of fights that are now going through Cosatu, the battle for the soul of Cosatu, is something that's never been seen since the formation of the Federation. And there also are suggestions that this could prompt a split in the long run within Cosatu. Let's talk about that then. On the line for us this morning, Stumo Dlamini is the president of Cosatu. Mr. Dlamini, good morning.
Good morning, Xolani, and good morning to your listeners.
I thank you for your time. I'm also joined on the other line by Professor Stephen Friedman. He's a director for the Center for the Study of Democracy at Rhodes University and University of Johannesburg. Professor Friedman, nice talking to you. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Xolani.
Thank you very much. Thanks indeed. Again, let me just go back to that speech then that was delivered by Mr. Vavi talking to the members of NUMSA there. He was quoted that day, Mr. Dlamini, and this one is for you, saying that there are leaders of our affiliated unions at the level of the presidents and general secretaries. They have a new mandate. They are the new enemies of the working class. They have been given a mandate to destroy Cosatu, or at best create so much division that the Federation can no longer be an independent movement capable of fighting for the interests of members. The mandate of the sources is very clear. Target the general secretary and smear him continuously in the newspapers until workers lose trust in him. After all, they know the only way to kill a snake is to smash its head. Do you agree with him here?
The Federation, the Central Executive Committee, after it had decided on an internal process, which we have been speaking to you in different media briefings, to say that it is an internal, purely internal discussion, that we were not going to have it engaged publicly until this internal process is concluded. We did pronounce that we had identified as the Central Executive Committee, guided by the presidents and the general secretaries of the Cosatu affiliated unions, that under Charles Nupen, Petrus Mashishi, and a firm of accountants who will be decided later on, this process is going to be handled internally and purely internally, and that no leader, nobody should speak publicly and into the detail of the process. And I think so far, as far as it has to do with the process, nobody has spoken to the process publicly. Any other utterances or any other leaks have spoken about other matters that have completely, absolutely nothing to do with the process. As long as it has to be talking to the internal process of the Federation, I am not allowed to speak to that particular issue on record.
All right, let me understand you again. What you're saying is what he said at that NUMSA conference is part of the internal processes of the Federation.
The internal process is the internal process, and nobody is allowed to talk to. In your introduction, and quoting our General Secretary, it seems that the utterances or what he said there is in a way talking to that internal process, which definitely I am not in a position to talk to it. Yes.
But Mr. Dlamini, you know the speech that he made at NUMSA, do you not?
I definitely know the speech that he made at NUMSA.
Was he being ill-disciplined? Is that what you're saying? That he was being ill-disciplined to talk publicly about internal processes?
I am not saying that. I'm simply saying, in as far as any debate is about the internal Cosatu process, the president of Cosatu nor any other leader of the Federation, we are not supposed to be talking about that process publicly.
According to reports and clearly including the similar speeches, the conclusion is that there is a fallout within the leadership at Cosatu.
We are not going to be talking about these matters publicly.
Professor Friedman, you are free to talk about these matters publicly, and you certainly have. And you certainly have. I mean, I saw your article yesterday. You do touch on issues of independence. You do touch on issues. You say, for instance, talk about attempts to kick Vavi off the union, of the Federation.
Xolani, before I comment on that, I find Mr. Dlamini's comments rather odd. A couple of days ago, he very publicly claimed that Corruption Watch was being used in order to fight battles within Cosatu. What is the difference between that statement and Mr. Vavi's statement? The point that I'm making is not to take sides between the two of them. The point that I'm making is that it seems to me that to tell listeners that he can't talk about these issues because they're part of an internal process, where he's been part of a public process of airing the conflicts within Cosatu is a difficult position to understand. Senior leadership in Cosatu are taking public positions, not private positions, public positions on the dispute which is dividing Cosatu. And it seems to me that if that is the case, then all of these issues should be discussed in public. The reality which Mr. Dlamini knows is that the reason there is a facilitation process going on in Cosatu at the moment is that Cosatu unionists have been leaking to the media claims about Mr. Vavi, claims that he's been involved in underhand financial dealings, claims that he is supporting the political opposition against the ANC. And all of this is in the public domain.
Mr. Dlamini, has Cosatu ever been in this position before? Is this the most difficult period of Cosatu ever since it was formed?
Cosatu has been in this situation before, and I can quote you a number of instances that Cosatu has handled commissions of inquiries about its leaders, post-congresses of Cosatu, that Cosatu has taken decisions that would have dealt with its internal issues. It's not a new thing in the Federation that we have to handle matters in the manner that we are handling.
It's interesting, Mr. Dlamini, you say that because, Professor, in your article yesterday, you started off by saying, well, we should all worry about the effects of pushing out a popular union leader because he's critical of the government. This will weaken Cosatu severely and could prompt it to split. Do you think Cosatu has been here before? And what makes you think that it's likely to split in the end?
Look, Mr. Dlamini is absolutely correct to say that this is not the first time you've had internal differences within Cosatu, and it won't be the last time. Cosatu is a democratic organization. But what I was saying in the article, and what I would stick to, is that, if Mr. Dlamini and Mr. Vavi have differences on strategy, which I believe that they do, and people who support them have differences of strategy, which I believe that they do, this is healthy. This is what democratic organizations are all about. Where I think the unhealthy part comes in is constant suggestions that there is a section of Cosatu which is trying to drive Mr. Vavi out. And if you do drive Mr. Vavi out, then you first of all are inviting a split. Because you're saying, you're saying to a lot of workers, the person you elected is not the person we're actually prepared to have here. And secondly, you're sending a message to people in the ANC, because remember, there's a context here, Xolani, and the context is that this is in the post-Mangaung period. Okay, we had a situation in Mangaung where the supporters of the current president, including Mr. Dlamini, who's now on the National Executive Committee of the ANC, won a big victory in Mangaung. The people who opposed them are still in government positions, but they're no longer in national executive positions. And there is a perception that there is an attempt to drive out of the ANC and its affiliates people who are unsympathetic to the new leadership. Then you're sending a signal to anybody in the ANC who has a problem about the current leadership that they're not welcome in the alliance. And if you send a signal like that, it's a bit naive to expect people to not consider going elsewhere.
A lot of SMSs are coming through. I'm going to go to the lines in a minute. I must mention that I've just received, of course, also a message coming through from Mr. Vavid, because he says, my comments at NUMSA were directed at those who leaks and twist every information to the media. Right, some of the SMSs then that are coming through at this time. Somebody says, Cosatu is reaping the fruits of the kind of leadership that it was prepared to kill for at Pulukwane. That's Zake Nxumalo in Pietermaritzburg. When will the likes of Cosatu and the ANC in fact realize that when their sell-by dates are reached with all in fighting, it's time to disband? That's Wendy. Another one says, it is a well-known fact that there is a faction within Cosatu led by none other than Stumo Dlamini, whose main objective is to protect President Zuma and to help forge Blade Nzamande's Project 2020, which seeks to entrench Zulu hegemony within the ANC. Katu on SMS. The Mangawung wall is starting to crack gradually come national elections in 2014, Sipho in Mango in Ermelo. Let me take some calls. Let me start with Julius in Pretoria. Julius, good morning.
Good morning, Colin.
Hi.
I'm a member of NAHAU, so I don't speak of perceptions. The problem started when Stumo, Senzeni Zokwana, Baleni, and Blade allowed themselves to be co-opted into the Zuma circle at the expense of workers. Anyone who disagrees with them, like Vavi, needs to be pushed out. They tried it at Cosatu Congress and were defeated by the workers. And now they want to use a few leadership coalition to do what the workers refuse to do. Anything else is a smooth screen and a sad show. We are not stupid. And again, Kolani, the ACP is a problem. It is dividing Cosatu, and instead of being the vanguard of the workers, it is becoming Zuma's laptop. How do you explain its acceptance of the NDP without interrogating it? I know I'm a member of it, and we never discuss it, but they are already defending it.
For now, let me thank you both for coming through, talking to me this morning. Certainly, it is clear that we're going to have to talk about this matter sooner or later, because it's going to be here with us for quite a while. And as you heard from Mr. Dlamini, there will be a central committee meeting, as I understand it, Mr. Dlamini, and there will be certain decisions made in relation to some of the issues that we're talking about here this morning. I thank you both, though, for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks indeed. Stumo Dlamini is the president of Cosatu. Also would like to thank Professor Stephen Friedman, who's the director of the Center for the Study of Democracy at Rhodes University and also at the University of Johannesburg. I really thank you for participating in the program through emails, SMSs, and calls as well.
The Forum at 8 with Xolani Gwala.